Hey all, this is part 3, and we're going to do an if-else statement with truthy and falsy. So, again, there's a hint, truthy and falsy, end of the Booleans, operators, and methods lesson, or you could just go to this truthy versus falsy in JavaScript page, which is to say just search that in Google search. But again, the idea is that there are about 6 falsy values, everything else is truthy, and the idea is rather than comparing a value to something else, we're going to evaluate the value by itself, understanding that in that Boolean context, it evaluates to either true or false, and that's where this truthy-falsy thing comes in. So we're going to complete a function that takes in one parameter, determines if that parameter is truthy or falsy. I always read this as trashy, especially when they're right next to each other. But anyway, returns a specific string for each case. Your function should use an if-else statement to determine if the input parameter is truthy, and if it is, should return the string input is truthy, or if the input parameter is falsy, you should return the string input is falsy. Below are examples of the code running, assuming that you will have completed the described function, is it truthy? So here's our stub with some fancy pseudocode. Now you think that putting the if statement around the pseudocode is tricky. Try putting it around an if-else statement. And in fact, I actually take that back. Don't try that. In general, for these, it's totally okay to put your if-else statement, here. But for those of you curious about how somebody who has done this before would wrap it around there, I will be wrapping it. But totally, one version is that you take this and cut it using Command X and then paste it in here so that it maintains its structure. But the other version is that you just have this be the pseudocode and then write the code underneath it. So with that in mind, I'm going to get rid of this, come back, and I'm going to grab our test cases, because there are 4 of them. And if there are 4 test cases, chances are we got the question right if these return true. Or if these, let's say if the tests pass, because they're not really returning true in a couple of cases. In fact, they're not returning anything. Oh no, we are returning stuff. We're returning a string in both cases. Okay, good. So if param is truthy, so I'm going to write my if statement here. And I think I put the else statement here, and then wrap that around there. So if param is truthy, so you might think that I would want to say something like param is equal to true, but we don't really want that, because the parameter, we're not testing to see if it's equal to true, we're testing to see if it's truthy. So if we leave it in a Boolean context, it will evaluate to a truthy value, because that's how that works. So if param, return input is truthy, otherwise, and that's the else statement, input is falsy. Excellent. Let's go ahead and run this and see what we've got. Input is truthy, falsy, falsy, falsy. Excellent. Let's go ahead and copy our now completed function, bring it back, paste it. I used to work with a guy that always said that's close enough for government work. He had been like a Navy submarine guy for about 20 years, and it always made me smile, especially because none of what we were doing had to be very close, well, actually it had to be very close because it was like surveying, which is interesting. They actually do stuff by talking about like tenths of a foot. So we got used to describing things as like, oh, that's 2/10 instead of an inch, which cracked me up. It was a very interesting way to tiptoe around the metric system. But with that said, our shape is good. We are looking excellent, all that stuff. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.